With this leftover, I would like to talk about I'd rather have Jesus. Of course, that's from a song, but it raises questions for all Christians. First of all, I'd like to say I made a mistake. I used the word nutrition in the title of my last leftover. Nobody wants a lecture on nutrition. Jesus himself was misunderstood when he called himself the bread of life, because we're not very good at understanding metaphors and parables and their real meaning. Lesson learned. Besides that, everyone is now gluten-free. But I do want to follow up on the thought. People do not change. People cannot change. That's the consensus of pretty much the entire world. If you don't like the way I am, get used to it. That's the way I am, and you have to learn to live with it. Yet the truth of the Bible is very clear. People can change after they become Christians. People need to change. We are expected to change. Churches are filled with greedy people and angry people and selfish people and people who hurt each other. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Change is a critical part of Jesus Christ's central purpose and for our very lives. His goal is to transform us after we become Christians, to transform us into better people. And that's obvious throughout the entire Bible, from the Ten Commandments and all of the Old Testament to Jesus' teaching on his Beatitudes, the Golden Rule, the epistles, the requirements for church elders and church leaders, the fruit of the Spirit in contrast to the deeds of the flesh. Internal change of our very being, which he calls souls, is a never-ending theme of the entire New Testament. And that's for Christians, not non-Christians. The point is this: change is hard. Change is very, very hard. And yet it's possible. And it's possible through a relationship with Jesus Christ. And more than that, any believer in Christ who devotes himself or herself to becoming like Jesus is richly rewarded for all eternity, as well as richly blessed in this life. It is by far the greatest investments of our lives that there could possibly be. I wish we would learn that. I refer once again to a favorite passage of mine because it condenses a lot of truth into a short passage. In Philippians 1, 9 through 11, this is Paul's prayer. He says, "And this I pray," for those Philippian Christians who were already growing in their faith, "this I pray, that your love may abound still more and more in real knowledge and all discernment, so that you may be able to distinguish the things that are superior, in order to be sincere and blameless for the day of Christ," that is his judgment of Christians, "having been filled with the fruit of righteousness, which comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God." Now, those three verses lay out the entire purpose of Christ for our lives. Knowing the verses doesn't, but knowing what they ask for us. The rest of the New Testament and the Old Testament as well add the filler to knowing God and knowing Christ in all knowledge and discernment, so that we're actually changed in our souls and not just in our talking points. Why am I bringing this up? Because it's my experience that hardly any Christians take it seriously. They quote scriptures and they talk about what God can do for you. But after 50 years of personal ministry in churches as a pastor and learning in my own life and trying to change and to encourage other Christians to develop in their own lives, it has become really frustrating to see how few actually have. For example, many Christians who've always demanded to be the center of attention, after years and years, still are in the same place. Or Christians who promote themselves, or Christians who are arrogant, self-serving, bad-tempered, perfectionistic, greedy, love money, love luxury. Christians who are lazy, who are bitter, who are stubborn. And the list goes on and on. And so many, after years of being active Christians, are still the same person that they were when they started. For some, it seems like they don't even care. On the other hand, a much smaller number have changed, and they've changed amazingly, and are exciting in their Christian walk with Christ, and they're exciting to watch as they discover what a wonder it is to become more like Jesus, which is the goal of our entire lives. They make it worth all the years of my own growth, my own teaching, my own study. To be clear, I have changed a lot, and I still have a long way to go. But I'm thankful for every change that Jesus Christ has worked in me. And my own growth has helped me to be more honest about my faults and about how hard it is to love Jesus more than the world's false attractions. My own change has helped me discover how dishonest I can be with my own false desires. Dishonesty with my mistakes, my faults, and our dishonesty with all of our faults is one of the greatest methods of staying in our old bad ways of life. We just don't admit it. When I listen to a wonderful song like I'd Rather Have Jesus, and I really think about that song, I realize how dishonest Christians can become about our own lives. Would I really rather have Jesus than silver or gold, than riches untold, than houses or land, than worldwide fame? Most of us would not rather have Jesus than a clean house. My understanding of Christian growth convinces me that most Christians, if we are really honest, would have to give the same answer as the rich young ruler. No, I can't give it up for Jesus. We can't imagine giving up things that have defined who we are, even if it means that giving them up, we become like Jesus. But when we do, it is so life-changing in so many wonderful ways we can't even begin to imagine. It is worth it all. But you have to be there before you're able to say that. And not only does it change our life, it changes our riches in heaven forever. We can say almost nobody takes Jesus really seriously. But then we have to say, I'm not almost nobody. I can take him seriously. And that is all.